The Toronto Raptors have made a multi-year signing here today as they've rewarded the homegrown hero who's been dominant in the back half of this season. And this is just the beginning of the moves that are to come to close out this year, then of course with the impending offseason. So we're going to break down what this signing means to the Toronto Raptors, how we're reacting to AJ Lawson getting rewarded for a very strong back half of this year, and what moves are to come for this Toronto Raptors team. So lots of stuff to break down out here in this video, but folks, you guys have been crushing it, hitting the subscribe button as of late, as we're currently on that mission to get to that 37,300 mark. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the daily Toronto Raptors coverage. But let's dive into it, because the Toronto Raptors came out, made some decisions, and made a move today. We got a little Shams bomb drop, essentially revealing the Toronto Raptors are converting two-way guard AJ Lawson to a 2-year NBA contract. Todd Rasmer and Mike Siemeta of Life Sports Agency has told ESPN. Lawson has averaged 8.8 points per game, 3.2 rebounds for the Raptors this season, and earns a standard NBA contract. And first thing I want to say is I am very, very happy for AJ Lawson for all of this stuff. Coming up, he deserves it. He's bounced around. He's played in a lot of different places. Been a Canadian guy that I've been following across the league. Had some standout games to the Dallas Mavericks. I know Marcel and a lot of Mavericks fans have been were disappointed when they ended up losing him, and he didn't get a lot of run under Jason Kidd's system. But the Raptors were able to pick him up, and frankly, he has impressed a ton in the back half of this season. So it's an impressive story. Josh Loomberg has a good breakdown of it here, saying after going undrafted in 2021, AJ Lawson has played for 4 NBA teams, 4 G League teams, 1 CEBL team, and signed 8 partially guaranteed contracts and been waived 5 times in 4 years. So hopefully he's finally found a home in the NBA. Wouldn't be cool if that home ended up being in his hometown. So AJ Lawson, again, signs that multi-year contract with the Toronto Raptors, which is great to see. It's a fun story. It's a cool situation, and he's been really good. He has put up some very solid stats for the Toronto Raptors this year. Of course, Shams laid it out, 8.8 points per game, 3.2 rebounds, but shooting 33% from behind the three-point line. The corner threes, you'd like to see that number go up, but he's only 24 years old. He's been developing, and he's had some breakout performances. There have been some nights where he has looked like a monster for this Toronto Raptors team. So certainly, in terms of the back half of this roster, in terms of guys that have impressed, in terms of guys that have played well, I think AJ Lawson, it's fair to say, is at the top of that list, and frankly, it's why Masai Ujiri made the decision in terms to give this reward, this contract to AJ Lawson. Now, what are the details with this? Because there's more stuff sort of in the woodwork, which we'll talk about latest reports, but we have an update in regards to the specifics of the contract, which makes it clear in terms of, because Shams doesn't dive deep into the specifics, but in terms of the impact that it actually has on the Toronto Raptors going forward. Because, again, I've seen some people bring up that, hey, the Raptors are going to have 2 draft picks this upcoming year. There's, unlike many seasons, there's actually a lot of depth on this roster here now at this point. So what's going to actually happen with these guys coming into next year? Well, basically, Blake Murphy gives a solid breakdown in terms of what's going on, saying that Lawson's 2025-2026 salary is fully non-guaranteed. A tiny cash bump. He gets a tiny cash bump for this season and will be in the team's summer development program versus being a free agent and trying to build from scratch in a new organization. So in theory, this doesn't add any risk except a couple of extra bucks from Rogers, phone bills to give to AJ Lawson here now at this point. And what it does, it gives the Toronto Raptors control on a guy that frankly has impressed a ton of people with his performance, with his ability to play, for this Raptors team in the back half of this season, and allows us to really evaluate him over the course of the summer. Because, of course, we saw the stats and how he performed for this team over the course of this season, but in terms of his stats out there in the G League this year, right, he 19 points per game, which is certainly improved. He's getting some rebounds, and for Texas, had a lot more rebounds out there in those games. Again, not the craziest sample size, but he did shoot 38% on 6 attempts per game from behind the three-point line out there in the 23 games in the G League for the Raptors this year. So basically, AJ Lawson has definitely developed. He's definitely taken a step up. The consistency in regards to his jump shot was the big thing that concerned Mavericks team in terms of his future development and his ability to have an impact on the team out there in the future. But frankly, looking at his G League stats, looking at what he's been able to do with this Raptors team, he has certainly improved in those areas. And of course, the shooting is big, right? That's, diving in the nitty gritty in regards to the shooting. You want those corner three numbers to be high. When you're playing around guys like RJ Barrett, who can facilitate, Scottie Barnes, who can certainly facilitate, heck, even Jakob Poeltl in the mid post can be in the paint, kick it out, do a lot of stuff. You need to be able to be out there and hit those spot-up shots. And while we've seen AJ Lawson certainly hit some shots and on certain nights just be absolutely on fire, like this man be absolutely cooking, you need a bit more consistency, especially on those spot-up jump shots. In 24 games, you want it to be over 31% out there on those corner threes. He's shooting just threes that around the basket, that 3 to 10-foot range. He didn't take a midi for the Toronto Raptors over the course of this year. At least make a midi, 0% from 10 to 16, and no shots out there from the 16 to 3-point range. So very much a 3-and-D player, but he's always had the intensity, he's always had the energy, he's always had the athleticism that is a positive for this team. So AJ Lawson, very, very happy with him getting picked up, getting his option picked up, and just getting rewarded, even if it's a tiny cash boost. And in theory, if the Raptors don't want to bring him back next year, there's no guarantees. They're not handcuffed to him now at this point, but you're making a commitment there. And generally, the Raptors have followed through on this. They give a contract, and at least they come into next season into the mix, the Freddie Gillespies of the world. These different guys, don't end up getting cut. So I expect him to be on the roster next season. I'm excited to see how he develops and fits with the Toronto Raptors long term. But what other moves are coming? What other moves are down the pipeline? Well, basically, Blake Murphy revealed yesterday when the Raptors made some other moves, when they waived Cole Swider. As noted, him, Lawson, Swider are all wildcard options. But the Raptors have waived Cole Swider as well as Orlando Robinson with the Logic. So essentially, Blake Murphy revealed we should expect two of either Swider, Robinson, or Castle getting re-signed out there the next couple of days, basically on Saturday. AJ Lawson's contract converted, which didn't happen Saturday. It happened today, and then a wild card transaction. So the Raptors signing someone just out of left field that hasn't been in the organization, that hasn't been on the team, and maybe they've liked out there in the G League or out there on these different rosters. So again, we should expect another move to be coming. If I'm making my predictions, if I'm making my takes, I think it's going to be Orlando Robinson, who frankly has been very, very solid for the Toronto Raptors this year. We take a look at his stats, right? Orlando Robinson, 7 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, impressed a lot of people at that big man position. We did waive him, so that might lead to some hesitancy in terms of making that prediction, making that take, but if we take a look in terms of what he's able to provide out there on the basketball court, he plays a big position of need for the Toronto Raptors. He's a strong rim protector and rebounder, and he has been developing that three-point shot, which has surprised a lot of people at the rate it's gone. In the last 15 games, he's shooting over 40% from behind, or roughly close to 40%. I had that stat memorized last video, but he's shooting a high volume out there, a high percentage from the three-point line for this Raptor squad. So congrats to AJ Lawson. Happy that he was able to get that standard NBA contract. Expect more moves to be coming, so hit that subscribe button if you don't want to miss a single thing that's going on with this team. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.